Well, today we're changing coolant and charging a battery on a 94 Buick Regal Gran Sport. And I guess we'll get started. Alright, I've already drained the fluid. I forgot to get a bottle. I'll show a neat trick with that a little bit later, because there is something kind of neat with that. I did it before, time crunch today, so. And the other thing is charging the battery. Battery's dead. I've got a relay that's bad. It seems to be draining the battery. So we're hoping I can get one today. But I'll show you how to get these clips undone so you can get to the battery, because you have to remove the washer fluid on this model to get to the battery.
Now, why would I want a Regal Gran Sport? Do I even want one of these cars?
They're a good car. They're kind of, for a grandma's car, they're pretty fun to drive. And 3800 is one of the best V6s made ever. They're pretty dependable. Second gen is actually the one that's listed as being the most dependable. Well, no, it'd be the third gen, the Series 2. This is a Series 1, which was actually, I think it's a little better than the Series 2 because there are certain parts that changed out. You had to replace on the Series 2 from the Series 1. And you actually use, I think one of the parts you replace is a little feed back there for the coolant. On the Series 2, it's plastic. I believe, yeah, Series 1 is metal. So you're just swapping it out.
What part?
But it's a part back here. I think it's actually what replaced this part going to the pump.
Okay.
Or it's a part over here on the return. But there's a part for the coolant system that's plastic on the Series 2 that's metal on this one and the previous one.
Mm-hmm.
And normally the fix is replace it with a metal one. I know that. I can't remember what part exactly. There's plenty of videos on that. Because most of the videos out there are going to be working on a Series 2. 10 millimeter. And this is a 10 millimeter here.
Well,
and you don't have a choice. You can jump it there, but I hate jumping anything. I hate jumping anything with a computer, a modern computer. But and I will not charge it with the battery hooked up, because you run too high a risk of damaging something electrical. And let's see, I do not have to take the battery out. It's a side post, so I did need bolts. I'm hoping I grabbed the right ones. I'm not sure those are the right ones for this battery.
those bolts there. Now, what if I want to, say, modify an engine? I want to make like a rat rod style racer or something.
Okay.
Would this vehicle be good for something like that?
Potential for some. Depends on what you want to do with it. Its rear suspension is kind of a weird one. It's shared with the Corvette of this time period and a few other GM vehicles. But it has a cross spring, a leaf spring that goes across for the stabilizer, torsion beam, and it makes it pretty nice handling, but those are kind of hard to replace and kind of hard to modify, because really all you can do is get a Corvette one and make it fit. Now here's the hard part. This is a Jenga thing. You gotta kind of do that, and then that box. Come on. There we go. Slide it up. Be careful not to torque or break the pump. I've done that before. And you find a position where it'll be happy out of the way, which is kind of challenging sometimes. I am going to remove this plug. It's just lift up on the back here, and it pulls out. That'll make it easier because that wire is kind of short, and the hose is fairly long, so it will work to get out of the way. And then there's your battery, and that's the hood release cable. It doesn't necessarily need to be back here, but I found putting it back here gets it out of the way, and you end up having to pull this air box if you take the battery out, so I'm not doing that. I'm going to take these wires off. 8 millimeter for the battery cables. the way. Move that one out of the way. Okay. Now let's see if I can get these bolts in there.
So it sounds to me this is like a fun, dependable car, or like a fun, dependable first car or something.
Something with this engine in it's a great first car. It's got decent power, but not a ton of power. If you get the supercharged ones, they do have they're a good sleeper. But with the regular, you have, I think this one was sitting at around 170 and about 210 torque. So it's plenty fun without being insanely. Front wheel drive, does great in the snow. Like I said, it handles good. It's all around fun car. Well, this works easier if you have hands that fit. I'm going to have to go get a magnet to get that out. A magnet and a shorter bolt, which I'm not sure is the right size. But I think this bolt's too small. Yeah, that's too small. But the fun with side posters when you're working with them is you got to have a bolt to screw into the side post. Well, I had to steal one from a repair kit I have that would work. It's just new ends because I can't find. I've got another one. I've got actually one of these that are in these type of wires that's been pulled out of the wire, but I can't find it. I found the box it should have been in. The box was empty. And now I got a battery charger tester. Take it out before you plug it in. And this is a new battery. Like I said, I've got something that's draining it.
Yeah, you said you thought it was the...
Probably the relay for the turn signals.
Now I'm recording.
All right. Well, now we plug it in. And it'll make sure it's on charge, not... And it's showing it at about 50%, which I don't really trust this gauge. I've got a battery tester too. I know it was dead because it wouldn't start. And the amperage, which actually it's agreeing with the amp meter in the car, it was showing 7 amps. So I forgot to bring something that would show that. Well, let me see if I can find something. The fluid that came out, which I filmed, I already drained the radiator. I'm going to flush it now. But it actually didn't look like the orange coolant that it should have been in there. It basically looked like someone was peeing that was dehydrated. So, and not badly dehydrated, it's a little dehydrated. So it was not the right color. And thermostat was replaced in 15, I think. So it's only got 10,000 miles on that thermostat. So I'm not changing the thermostat yet because it may have just been bad coolant. It's not overheating. It just keeps saying that there's a problem with the coolant system. All right, I found something to work. I'm really, like I said, this time I'm running some clean water through, and I'm going to show a couple of neat tricks with this. I'll also show you the location of the stopcock. It is Velcro. I don't know where that came from. It is actually, this is the driver's side, and you have give me the camera.
It'll work.
There is a crossbar here, and as you can see, that little white thing is the stopcock. You just twist it and pull it out, and it opens the drain over. Right now it's open. When it's closed, it should be pushed in and up and down. Now that may vary model to model, but on this one it's that way. And it drains out right. You see the stopcock's there. It drains out from the hole back here. There it is. I can't see what I'm pointing at right there. So, and like I said, I am going to try to get in the right spot and drain it and put some water in. And we can show what fluid looks like what's left in it. Because I want to flush more out. And this one I can do a neat trick with. If I can remember where I put the distilled water. I had it over here at one point. Where did I move it? We had to pull a car out. We had musical cars, which is an interesting thing. Fords, if you run out of transmission fluid, they quit shifting. They won't engage, they won't disengage. You had to put fluid in a Ford to move it. So, This one still has a cap. I think the last generation, the third generation, had a sealed radiator, so it's going to be like the Ford when I do it. But I'm going to add some water to the overflow because I'm going to drain it too, and you can do this without emptying it, and it's kind of cool. And I'll show that trick here in a minute. But add water here. I recommend a funnel. But once I have coolant, I will be using a funnel.
Remember, water your engine to make it grow.
Is that actually... yeah, it's draining in there. Okay, and now shoot up here. Watch this. You plug this, and it draws the fluid out of the reservoir just by making a seal.
So, it's a handy little tip if you want to drain the reservoir on your Regal Gran Sport. Will that work for other vehicles as well?
Anything that has this kind of setup, where you have a reservoir that has a vacuum line to pull like this instead of the line just going in. I found that doesn't really work like on the Subaru, where it just has the line going in. I found that it didn't really work on there. And it works better when there's more fluid in it. Also, fun note on these cars, nothing's flat, so don't bother setting stuff anywhere. It all wants to roll off of it. It's all angled. All angles all the time. I don't think that's really showing very well how the water's pulling. But it's actually pulling the water up this chamber and out of the overflow. Let's see how I let it go. It goes down. Put my hand over it and it pulls it right back up. It's hard to see, so I don't know how well that's showing. But see, it's pretty well empty in there. It's still a little Milky Way, but it's not too bad. And that's actually about what it looked like coming out of the bottom when it was first doing. Now it's a little better. As you can see, it's got a little more orange to it. But that's it. That's all it can pull. After you get to a certain point, this gets low enough and it won't pull anymore when you have the vacuum. But it gets more than enough. And like I said on before, or previous ones, I normally do about a 70% mix coolant, 70% coolant to water. That way it's got a little better antifreeze property. And in all truthfulness, it seems like you have to change it less. It was 15 last time this was worked on. I think it was actually 12 the last time the fluid was changed. It's been 10 years. It's due. And actually the pH was still good. It's just the coolant level, the resistant level was getting pretty bad. But it was still at a good pH level. And this one doesn't get a lot of miles. Yeah, you can see how bad that looks. That's what it looked like coming out too. The first part was just a good orange. Probably good fluid still floating on the top.
Probably. That looks like somebody's got kidney damage.
Yeah. Alright, well, battery changing, doing that. All there is to this now is once it finishes draining, I'll push it back and twist it off. It kind of twists and push and twists and pulls to stop that drain hole. And then put this in. The hoses were changed recently enough. They're still plenty soft and supple. They're changed together. Which the coolant system was drained down in 12. It just had a good portion of it put back in. I should explain that. Because this hose was replaced, that hose was replaced, this thermostat was changed, and this component was all changed in like 14 or 15. Last time it was having fits. And that was, actually I changed the thermostat because this was all coming off anyway, so I couldn't see not changing the thermostat. So if it actually having a thermostat problem, because the new thermostat was bad. And it was supposed to be, it was actually AC Delco. It was GM part. It was supposed to be a GM part. I think they still said made in America or made in Mexico. So we will see. But as you hear it's draining out, I might run a little bit more water through it, put that back together, get this battery charged up. Car will have to run for me to burp it, but that'll be coming up. Kind of neat thing. This style funnel, you'll see this in the Subaru video too. In the Subaru video, it actually fit down and it'll work as a kind of as a stop funnel, but not as fancy as the ones you see normally for testing. But it seals in on it. Most of the others, it has this little handle, so when you have a weird angle like that or someplace where something's low, you can kick this little foot under it and it holds it in there. So you actually have a funnel at a level you can use to fill it up. And the only other thing, I guess I'll show, see if I can't get this to work, is I'll show how to stop the stop cock. If you'll hand me the camera now, I'll try to see if I can get this at an angle where you can see it, what I'm doing, because there it is. And see if I can hold this hand and film something, you can see it. But see it's there. There we go. Okay, you push it in and twist it around till it's upright, and there. Now it's in and sealed. And like I said, vertical is closed, and out and down is open. There's not much to see with filling fluid, so that'll be the next step. And I'll get back to it when we start burping. Oh, quick one. This is 94 Regal again. And this is a flasher relay. Oh, if I get the little number up there, you can see the original. This is original. There's the part for the new one. Part number. And there's the original. Take out the plastic. But it was malfunctioning, and we think it's what run the battery down. Get this thing only does really good, and I've been having issues with the stock doing weird stuff. But it actually sits ow, right back there. There's the relay, and this panel came down just a single lock pin, and it's got the ones with the Phillips. And they're quasi threaded. They're not so much threaded as they are kind of. But what you end up having to do is take a tool like this, catch this part, and pull and use the screwdriver on this part. And sometimes you have to use, sometimes it takes three. You have to be prying both that and this and using the screwdriver. I kind of hate these pins, but GM and a lot of other manufacturers like them, so. But you had to pull this panel to get to most of the stuff for your steering controls, light controls, everything else on this car. And as you can see, this has first generation computer reader. So I have an adapter for it, but you have to have a reader that can read first gen and has its own power supply, or be able to feed a separate power supply. So
relays happen.
I just didn't know you wanted some input on that. I just took the camera and took a video of it.
No, I didn't really have much to say. I'm glad you showed exactly where it's at, though, at least.
Yeah, I showed it where it's at. It's not that complicated. I had to get Kit to help me because I once again fall under lack of size, or actually too much size. So he was much more able to get his arm up in there and get to it and stuff than I am without breaking anything. Well, you see, guess I've run out of daylight.
A little bit.
But the Subaru moved without overheating.
How far did it move?
See, I drove it about 30 miles, and I drove it hard. Like I was rally racing the dang thing. And temperature at one point went up a little bit, but it used to be if it did that, it went. Well, this time it did that and went right back down.
Oh, good.
So it barely moved. Okay, fire up.
Now, why are we running the engine?
Burp the coolant system.
So you already poured coolant in it?
Yep. A little bit more too. He's thirsty. You take in a bunch of water when it started up. There we go. Let's load a little bit. But see, that's what burping the system is. It takes the liquid down.
So how's the resistor doing?
It needs to be, we replaced that and swapped it over and put the new one in. And now the flashers, the turn signals aren't rapid flashing anymore. And the emergency signal, the emergency lights seem to try to flash out SOS. If you watch them, they change speeds. You get a bunch of fast ones, and some slow ones, and a bunch of fast ones. And I think they're actually trying to do SOS.
That is actually clever if GM tried to do that.
I don't know if that's GM or just the replacement resistor. I think we may be done. You see that coolant there?
Yeah.
It's moving in and out, but it doesn't seem to be taking any air out, so.
You gotta wait till it gets to operating temperature or something?
Yeah. Every time the idle changes a little bit, you see a little bit of fluctuation like I showed in the other one. That's not problems with the system, that's just the water pump changing what it's doing. Like see there, it sucks it in when it's fed up. And then when it slows down, it comes back out. Alright, I am going to go on and put the lid on. Because I did not see any bubbles at all. And I can't do the funnel trick with this one.
I feel like after replacing this relay, there's more working lights.
It probably is.
I mean, this side still has some blown bulbs, but
Oh yeah, all the bulbs are working again.
Yeah.
Fun thing for GM, you fix one problem and it solves a bunch.
there's some kind of backlight going on the temperature controls now. Before there wasn't any at all.
See, the passenger one I don't think ever
camera
had
light off, and yeah, you can see it better with the camera light off.
And now
The
there's
passenger one is, I think, actually burnt out.
it has little orange lights.
Pretty cool.
I had the fog lights turned off because I think they do something funky with this car's electrical system. They seem to draw a lot of power from the alternator.
Finished putting this coolant bottle on.
What was the resistance difference? I heard you talking about that earlier.
The resistance on the new flasher relay was sitting at like 50 ohms or 0.50 or something like that, and the new one is at like 0.01, or the old one is at like 0.01.
Yeah, that's a little bit of a difference.
Yeah, I don't know how the blinkers were working at all before. They were blinking very rapidly. And it didn't make a clicking noise. Now the new one, you can hear.
Oh, we'll stick the microphone up there. But,
An actual audible click.
yeah.
Grandpa won't forget that the blinker's on.
I mean, Grandpa will still forget that the blinker's on, but that's
And
just
it
because Grandpa's
starts
Grandpa.
binging and bonging at you.
Yeah.
What?
We're talking about Granddad.
I'm just putting the windshield washer fluid thing finished the rest of the way back on. I put the plug back on, slid it back down, put the bolt in. And if you break one of these two pins, I found this outside one's the more important one. The inside one's kind of double redundant. So. Let it warm up, and I'm going to check fluids and But the nice thing about this one is it's hard to kind of see. There was a bubble. It will burp itself. So
it's kind of a self-burping system, and you could do a vacuum trick on it real quick.
yeah.
Oh, cool. So GM in the 90s kind of knew what they were doing. They were the kind of, if you need a 90s car and you want to get American, sounds like you pretty much want to get GM.
3800. You want a 3800 if you get a V6 front-wheel drive. The 3100 wasn't a bad engine in that family, but they're all so old, almost all of them head gaskets are going. And a lot of the others, a lot of them had head gasket problems. But the 3800, what's the temperature?
Still not even on the gauge.
Oh, the fun part about GMs also with these, they take forever to warm up.
Be wary about front-wheel drive V6 GM products due to fragile transmissions. If you get it at 150,000 miles,
Yeah.
odds are
It's
the
probably going to end up
transmission
being
is
the
getting towards
transmission.
the end of its life.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the only thing. This transmission would rebuild at 120,000. You're going to end up rebuilding the transmissions. That's the only thing with the 90s ones. 2000s with the 3800 aren't as bad, but they're still one of those things. The engine will run forever. Transmission, you might be doing something with. Better off getting one that was a little old lady, easy driving, little old lady or someone, and with easy on that transmission, and get more out of it. If you drive it like I do, then yeah.
90s through early 2000s GM vehicles with good transmissions. Anything with a 4-cylinder paired to it has the GM 4T40 or 4T40E, and those last a very, very long time.
Pretty
Do
much.
not get anything front-wheel drive from GM from the late 90s, early 2000s with a manual transmission, because the manual transmissions from those did not last very long.
Are junk. I had a brand new Sunfire with one, and it didn't work from the factory. It just never worked right. Their gear didn't work right, and it burnt gear oil. That's not a normal thing. And I had a let's see, what was the other? And I had an S10 before that, which was rear-wheel drive. Its manual was wonderful.
Well, I've always understood it. You generally want GM automatics and Ford manuals. You don't want the vice versa. The diesel.
It's not fun in the winter when you're trying to drive this and trying to stay warm.
Yeah, because it takes about half an hour for the heater to start working. Okay, that's done.
You don't say.
Yeah. I may have the reservoir a little over full now, but it's got a lot of extra reservoir, so. But I feel it's below the hot line because it should take a little more fluid in, and it seems to be taking a little more fluid in. These things are useful.
Yeah, you always got to use your head. Oh, you're talking about the light. Yeah, those are useful too. Water your engine, make it grow.
Yeah, I'm cleaning coolant out.
I'm not sure that's going to get you an extra 2 cylinders.
It could.
Oh no, there goes the head gasket. I'll probably get blasted in the face with hot steam.
What?
Open the radiator cap now.
I loosened it a little bit and it sprayed coolant.
Yeah.
So it's definitely got plenty of pressure. It's not empty.
What about your bottle here? Are we seeing any bubbles still?
No. Hey,
I don't know what that is.
the fan.
Ah!
If you honk it, you'll notice it's louder now. You hold it, you hear the two kicking in? Hold it down. It's not gonna buck yet.
Hey! There is 2 tones now.
The second one was disconnected. I discovered that when I was working on the radiator. The second horn somehow was unplugged.
Yeah, it totally sounds different now. That's cool. It used to sound like, "You kids stay off my lawn." Now it's like both her and her husband screaming.
I suppose so. What temperature are we at now?
I assume that between 100 and 220 is good. Once you hit 220, you've exploded. 260 is, oh my god. Is between 100 and 220 where it sits for operating temperature.
That's where it always sits, whether it's the proper spot or not. It never gets warmer than that.
Dummy gauge? Dummy light?
No, it's an
Yeah.
accurate gauge. It's just that this engine runs cold. It runs at about 190.
I would say that 100, 200, and then the space between 100 to 220, and then the space between 220, 260 tells me it's not actually accurate.
Well, it's
What
rates
is-
different ways.
What an what?
And the oil's jumping. Which I'm not surprised on. I gotta check the transmission fluid. Will you put it in neutral?
Checking transmission fluid.
Because it's a great.
Oh, put it in park. I forgot GM, you check in park. Every car company, you have to check the fluid in the automatic a different way. At least they normally say on the dipstick or on the fill. Yeah, it's still
In
full.
the Sunfire, it has to be in drive, on a lift, off the ground, level,
And you have to take out the level plug because it has no dipstick.
Yep, it's full.
That is crazy.
It's really hard to check the level.
I saw red fluid under it and I was nervous. And transmission's full, so power steering maybe? I don't know.
did you put ATF in your power steering?
No,
Is that a thing you did?
no.
We'll make it with
Probably.
just let the dealer do it. Crazy Karl! Here's a new roadside hat! If
You
don't-
can make it work. I mean, if you put ATF in there, it might get you home. You got to change it once you get home, but it might get you home. I have actually used motor oil in it before to get home. But at that point, the entire system had exploded, and I had the hoses taped together too with duct tape and wires and
Run out of water on
zip
the-
ties.
Run out of water on the side of the road? Be in your radiator.
They actually proved that works.
Mythbusters proved that works, actually. Although your car will smell like piss for the rest of your life, so that's a dumb thing to do.
Yeah. And the oil doesn't look so bad now. I was worried about it because the car sat for a long time. The oil looked kind of bad. Well, it looks fine now. So
Did you say you could change
I thought I did because when I pulled the dipstick after it sat for so long, it looked really dark. Well, I just pulled it again. It looks brand new.
it? Was it taste like?
Probably like motor oil.
Come on,
have-
lick it.
You don't
Lick
have
it.
the sense.
It's kind
Come
of hot
on,
right
wizard. Come
Lick
on.
it.
Lick it.
now. It's just
Lick it for
well,
views.
it's over full now because it's running.
Yeah. Taste it for views. He's tasting it.
It's hot. It
Woo.
tastes like motor oil.
Now go taste gasoline.
No thanks, I've tasted it before. That's why I have siphoning devices now. Although I still in the video had to do it the other way.
Yeah.
Fun fact, you can't siphon fuel from the 2002 Pontiac
You've tried, huh?
Yeah. The hose will not go into the tank. But yet somehow they can't do that on more expensive cars. They can't
Well,
stop people from
see,
stopping.
GM products have anti-fuel theft devices. This one does too. And that was their solution to having locking caps. So,
All right.
Cut to my solution for siphoning the tank. Yeah, there is something wrong with this pump.
part of why right now with fuel prices up, you're having people poking holes in fuel tanks. Because you can't siphon now, so if you poke a hole in it.
Yep.
Unique thing on this one, there's no seat lock. But there is a little handle like there is one. The handle's back there, but there's no lock. It's just for decoration.
So, if you had bigger brakes, these would be a little bit more annoying because then you have to like, oh crap, there we go.
Thunk. Yep, they go up with you.
You have it complete and intact without being destroyed console.
Pretty much. The leather's cracked.
You can't tell that from here, so the leather's not cracked. This is YouTube, so nobody knows.
And
Except apparently
the stitching's all failing on the back seat.
Apparently the button on this steering wheel short out and catch fire sometimes
Well, I know those get hot.
and shock the user. I know, they do get warm. Concerningly warm. That's really strange.
That is really strange.
Like
I just consider it as a form of heated steering wheel.
Yeah.
because they freaking used halogen bulbs.
If you turn it too high, it gets really heated.
And catches fire.
Are all of the fog lights working? Both of them? Or do they need to be kicked?
No. This one's out. See, it's out. Now it's on.
I have fixed it.
See, when you have an old vehicle, you just smack stuff and it fixes it. It really works. Now we'll leave the lawnmower behind this one and see if he notices.
I will run straight over it.
You're not lying. You probably will.
Yeah, you will. Good.
You still have low coolant. You know what that means?
I got a full tank.
Well, whatever full means on this gas gauge.
Something. It's got, well, no, it's got more than half a tank. That's what full means. 3/4 is a half tank. 3/4 tank is a half tank. Half tank is about a third tank. Quarter tank, you need to find a gas station. The light comes on, there's a gallon left.
This is some weird Karl math I don't understand.
I've learned what the gauge does now. I gotta move stuff, so you can't move the car yet. They are.
No, I was going to say that. I don't think your garage door is going to close. But then I started looking. It's not going to close
The
anyway.
lawnmower in the way.
I didn't see the lawnmower in the way until I started talking.
We're doing musical cars. Make sure I haven't left anything sitting anywhere. Because there was another bolt, but I don't see it anywhere, so. I'm hoping I put it away and it told me where away was.
You talking about the bolt that didn't fit?
Yeah.
You grabbed it.
Yeah, I think I put it away and I don't know where away was.
I thought you... Either that or it's going to rattle out. Or it'll just fall on your radiator fan and you'll hear it. One of those three things will happen. Guaranteed. Mexico.
Well, I fixed the coolant.
Miss some...
Ah, copyright! Is that copyright?
Yes, it is.
But we're singing it very badly.
Hold on.
Something just hit over there.
Yeah, probably. The whole wood pile's black. You're okay? We need to go that way though.
You're clear.
All right.
Your chariot. Oh,
Your chariot awaits, sir.
your chariot. I didn't lock it. You turn the car on, you turn it off, you put it in park, you put it in drive, it locks itself.
Let's have a hard head in there.
Probably do.
The car's a pain in the rear. It's like, no, you can't get out. What is that?
It's all the way back already.
What? No. I could kind of reach the pedal. I swear it went back. Grandma definitely can't get out of there.
My mom prefers low cars, actually.
Well, your mom isn't grandma now, is she?
She actually is, yes.
She's great grandma.
She
Yes,
is great grandma.
But she isn't
She's not grandma.
generic grandma number 1. She might be generic grandma number 3.
What was number 4? 5?
She may watch this, so I'm not commenting on this any further. I don't want to get hit with a frying pan when I go home.
Let's just say she's not generic then.
Yes, she's not generic grandma.
Oh, come on. You take all our fun away.
My face is flat enough. I don't need my face to get any flatter.
50 freaking bulbs. How many bulbs do you need?
All of them.
Wait.
All of the bulbs. I'm recording here, guys.
Oh, there might be. Brakes off?
Brakes off.
Alright. Turn the blinkers off. Now do the brakes. Yeah.
Are all the ones on the spoiler working?
Yeah.
Yeah. Spoiler's working fine. It's just weird.
And now the regular
That's good.
blinker works just fine.
That way. That's good.
Hazard lights just freak the heck out.
Yep.
Actually, so it's a 2-prong flasher or blinker relay.
Mm-hmm.
So that means it's left and right.
Yeah.
It's probably got a separate hazard relay
It probably does.
somewhere, which is probably built into the gauge cluster somehow.
You might need a new relay for
Need
that.
a new hazard relay.
There's a difference between flasher relay and blinker relay. Most cars just have a flasher relay that it does everything, but this might have 2 separate ones. I'll have to Google it.
Okay.
That may be.
All right, this one's getting long.
Oh yeah, there's probably a whole lot of stuff to edit out there. I know you're going to edit all the grandma stuff out.
I may, yes.
Oh, come on.
We'll see how daring
Sure,
I
it's going to be a
feel.
frying pan. I was expecting a shoe.
It's going to be a frying pan. I know my mother. All right, y'all going to drive it or?
Actually, I just over to there. Then I'll worry about it in the morning because I got to get that in here.
Go drive.
Okay. All right, I'll do your ending first.
Oh yeah, and that's it for this time. Got that flushed. Got the battery charged. All kinds of stuff on this one. And until next time, have a good one.